Okay, in the middle of page 376, and he's explaining that the shaila is, who remembers the question of Eizvav? The question is that Eisis Achkikis Teresh B'Ksav and Eisis Aksiv is Teresh B'Al Peh. We have to repeat this whole thing now, or we know what I'm talking about? Yes, repeat, or yes?
Yes, repeat. Very quickly.
Eisis Achkike means that the letters are completely bottled and expressive of the inyan, the seichel in the moshel, or elikus in the nimshel, and they're not negotiable. As he gave the whole moshel, at the time when the person has this epiphany and this discovery of an idea, the pure inyan of chachma, this havraka. So there's obviously oisius, there's letters in which he contains the idea. At that moment, there's no negotiation of which word could convey the idea better. It's the spontaneous word which conveys the idea, not negotiable. And if it's going to be, if he's going to entertain other words, maybe other words for the idea, completely lose the seichel. It's only when it comes to the end articulation, when he's going to explain it, write it, the thesis, or teach it, then there's a whole array of words that could be done, could be used, and none of them are hard and fast. Many words could express the same idea. We explained where do the oisius come from in the beginning, therefore, from at the level of the havraka. So we answered the the two considerations. One is it just can be simply association. It doesn't. In the past, whatever it is, but these words spontaneously and naturally talk to him. Then there's also deeper in Yonim, certain words, certain oisius are embedded in the nefesh more so than other words and oisius, depending on the orientation of the person. A person's nefesh is a chesed nefesh. A person's nefesh is dominated by gevura. There'll be different language that naturally comes spontaneously. That are more natural and more instinctive. Whatever the reason, it's not negeya here, the Maimon doesn't go into it. But the point is there are words that the person uses, and those words in his own mind, at that highest level of first entertaining the idea, the point is that they are not negotiable. That's oisius of Teresh B'Ksav. Again, Teresh B'Al Peh, Tanoim and Amorim, Rishonim and Achronim, all speaking about the same subject in the different words, etc. That's because here we're talking already malchus, at the lower levels where it's being articulated and expressed, and here the words are not essential like they are in the level of avrok. So the shaila is that, so why is it that in Teresh B'Ksav we don't know what the Rotz and the Elyon is? The Rotz and the Elyon, the pure, the desire of the Eibishter is not revealed in Teresh B'Ksav. Notwithstanding that the oisius of Teresh B'Ksav, oisius achkike. I have to say the obvious also. That's why in Teresh B'Ksav the words and letters are not negotiable. Even the smallest crack or fading of a letter invalidates the Torah, the Tefillin, the mezuzah. And likewise, we said a person's called up to the Torah, doesn't have to understand. As long as he's hearing and seeing the words, he makes a birchas HaTorah. Whereas in the Teresh B'Al Peh, the words are significant, but nowhere near on the same level. And certainly the halachas don't apply altogether. And faded or cracked letters, ganz nicht negeya, completely irrelevant. So why is it that the Rotz and the Elyon, however, is not expressed in Teresh B'Ksav? So he went into whole arichas and he pointed out what appears to be a contradiction. In some places in Kabbalah and Chassidus, bigger numbers represent higher revelations. In some places in Kabbalah and Chassidus, bigger numbers represent lower expressions, more finite, more fractured, more multiplicity, more division. So how do you reconcile this without bringing the different quotations? No, what do you have the answer? What's the answer? It depends if we're speaking about Oyres or Kalim. When we're talking about Oyer, so the higher you go, of course, the greater the Oyer. That's what we mean by higher numbers. So Sheva Shonim is one level, and then is a lower level, and then 100 is higher, 20 is higher, and 100 is higher, and 1,000 is higher, and 10,000 is higher still. But then the Rebbe asks, but still we're talking numbers here. We're still talking numbers. What does it mean that the greater the oir, the greater the number? What was the answer he gave? That if this oir has to be revealed down here, you would need so many kalim. That's what it means. A big chiddush. That if that oir to be articulated down here, you need so many words. Because it's such a transcendent light. But mitzat kalim, we're talking about kalim, then of course, the higher you go, the less the keli. In seichel, the higher you go in seichel, the less oisius. The less oisius, the more the pure seichel. But if you have to articulate, that's in the pure idea. But to articulate it equals MC squared. You need a whole encyclopedia to explain that. But the way that it's understood by the original conceiver of the idea, it's in this mamish level of havroken, a little oisius. But the higher it is, to bring it down, you need more kalim. So that's what we mean, great numbers when it comes to oil. To express that, you need a lot of kalim. But the kalim themselves, of course, the higher you go, the less the kalim, the less gevul, the more bli gevul. That's what we're up to. Now continuing. Page 376, by the number 31 in the text, the Galgalt, the level of Galgalt, which means the skull, and the skull, of course, the Yin of Keser, which is higher than Atzilus. Yasvit Leis Alfin Almin. Literally, there sits, or there is, 13,000 worlds. The Lechore, how do we speak about such a huge number? Atzilus, which is lower, is Olam Ha'achtos. Because Atzilus is oneness, and here we're talking about Galgalta, we're talking about this great number. It's interesting that the number 13 is Begematria Echad. That's the point here, right? Because it is unity. So why this great number? For this level to be articulated would need 13,000 Oisias and Kelim. We mean here Ribayah, meaning to articulate this level and give expression to it would need this huge number. Now answering our question that this Ois began with. Sorry?
The mata here is Atzilut, or mata means to reveal that level that's not Atzilut down here?
No, the level of Galgalta. To reveal the level of Galgalta would need 13,000 Oisias. Kalim.
No, but
Down here.
Down here.
Could it be Atzilus too? Could be.
Okay, no,
The mata.
Point is not where it is.
The mata from Galgalta. I don't know if the 13,000 starts there or Leilam Hazeh.
No, sorry, that's what I meant. There's 13,000 in Galgalta?
No. It's a riboy oir. But for that to be expressed lower than that, starting with Atzilus and lower, they need 13,000. Whether it starts there or later emerges, I don't know. It's in the Yerida. Now answering your question, I'm sorry. We cannot know the details of the Ratzon Elyon because the divine will is not articulated there in its detail. Why? Because in Teresh B'Ksav, the Oisius Achkika, Shebehem Meir Riboy Oir, there the letters are very few. The Kalim are few, because the Oir is very great. Aval Einu Ba B'Bchinas Mispa V'Yischalkos, there in Teresh B'Ksav, the Ratzon Elyon is not revealed in number and division. Riboy Kalim Elo B'Chlalos, it's in general. It's impossible to know in Teresh B'Ksav the general Ratzon, yes, but how to articulate the Ratzon Hashem in Dir B'Tachtonim down here is impossible to know, because why? The Riboy Oir. Potentially it's all there, but it's non-articulate, non-expression. It's got to come down into Keli. That's number one. Number two, in order to reveal the Ratzon Elyon to Nivroim down here in Elam Hazeh, Tzarich Liyos has to be not only Kelim, but it adds another thing. Tzarich Liyos al dei levushay habriya dafke. There has to be through this term levushim garment. So, K'mishkosa Beitz Chaim, that there's not Keli is not enough. It's not enough that the Lamaila, that the oil should be contained in the Keli. That's not enough, as it were, for the Nivra us to receive the oil. But it has to go through a further concealment, and that is Levushe Habriya, which means from Mashpia, it's not enough to use words, okay, and bring down the idea into words that the Makabel knows these words, but if it's not his Levushim, it's not his garments. The Levushim mean his personal language. Levushim, garments are tailored to the person. You have to choose words and language which are not just English, but tailored to the recipient. It's a further tzimtzum. And it's a further, it's a much bigger one. You understand what I'm saying? It's one thing to bring it down into language. It's general language, write a book and finished. To give them the textbook's not enough. The teacher has to personalize the idea to each student, for that matter, or into the level of the class.
Between the nimshal and the mashal, right? You could say the nimshal
In words, this is a chesed, gvur, tiferet, etc., 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 but if you don't know what that means.
It's like a mashal, yeah. A mashal is like the levushi abriya. Good point. Yes, because that's the world of the makabel. So now we need levushim. Levushim, lamata gam ba kelim. Levushim are lower than kelim. Kelim is the words. But as you're saying, the levush like a mashal. So this is further. Why? Teresh b'ksav shebichnetz atzilus shlamalim yan levushim. Ma'in levushim. Teresh b'ksav is atzilus. Not. It's a good mashal is a mashal. Let's hide in levushim. Atzilus is elikus. So from elikus, it's totally unrelatable to us. There's no way the Nivroim will know what Hashem wants. It's got to be invested in our world, in our language. Which means through not only Kelim and Oisius, but Levushim, Shesham, Horibuya, Kelim, V'gam Levushim. Not only do we have lots of words, but also Levushim, garments, in Eshom Dafke, Nas Hagiloi. Shorish, Ragach Sapara, oxen, and so on. It's in language which is our world, invested in language of our world. So it's that only in such an articulation can we have the Ratzon Elyon expressed to us in such a way that we can carry it out and implement it in Elam Hazeh. So the simple answer to the question is, why? Notwithstanding, the question is really the answer. Why is it we don't know the Ratzon Elyon? The answer is because it's Eiseh Hakika. Because it's so high, it doesn't come down in the Ribbi Pratim. It's unrelatable still to us in a way of the details of actual observance, and therefore it has to come down where? In Oisius and in Levushim. And just like Levushim, by the way, a person can take on and take off and change them, so to the Oisius, the words of Teresh Baal Peh, the same halacha can be expressed in many, many different words, in different ways, in different dishuch and ladach, and you'll know what to do. Because they're Levushim, and that's the way it has to be articulated in Elam Hazeh. Yeah? What? Clear?
So the more levushim and kelim down here
means that the higher or is being megala.
This Riboy Oir finds its expression down here. So what we're getting is the Riboy Oir. But that Riboy Oir needs to be implemented down here. It needs to have tremendous articulation and detail.
Torah also articulates the language of man, speaking about the ox and the slave.
Relatively speaking, but you can't know from any pasuk. So what do I do? What actually do in Peil Mamish you can't know. And moreover, it's not only in Peil Mamish. I mean, without Teresh Baal Peh, even just the general idea. Take Parshas Mishpatim today. The psukim there of the various Shomrim, and anything. So who's what? It's not clear. Never mind what to do. Geez, even the clarity of the message at the cloud level is often obscure.
The word in the last second last word, Mishom Dafke Nasa Hakilui, it's not created, but it's appreciated. I mean, the word Nasa, it's not looking to combine right.
Is that what you're saying?
He, the Tershalof, that Dafke, Shishom would be Akalim, Gamalushim, Mishom Dafke Nasa Hakilui. Nasa. The Gili was already.
No, the Gili to us. The Gili to us.
Oh, Nasa
to us. That is about Pem. Loshan Asiya. We wouldn't have this Gili. It would remain totally beyond us. Let's go further. This is the between Shem Havaya, which is what Shem Ba'etzim Shem Yuchad. That's how this whole discussion is, to explain the difference between Shem Havaya and the other Shemas. Shoyis the Shem Havaya, Moishe Atzmi B'Dimenei Ubei. Moishe Shem Havaya, Moishe Achkika. These are letters that are essential to the Elikus itself, to the Gilui itself, not negotiable. And that's Atzilus. Gama Kelimim, Betachas HaYichud in Atzilus, page 377, the Kelim are totally and thoroughly united and don't conceal the Eir. He and his life force, which is the Eira one, he or he, meaning the Eir himself, the Garamoyo and his causations, or his Kelim are also one. So furthermore, not now we're going to go Holadichas now. Not only are the letters Yud Kei Vav Kei per se, these engraved, not negotiable letters bottled to the Eir, one with the Eir, Elagam Kivishaboim Bizgalus Protim. But even as the letters are revealed in detail, relative detail, Shin HaMiluyim B'Shem Havaya, that is as we spell out, fill literally, the letters of Shem Havaya, as they convey different Giluyim, which are Shem Dalet Hashem is the four names of Shem Ab, Sag, Ma, and Ban. They too are Chkika. Why? The fish in Atzilus, at the end of the day, they're all in Atzilus. Now, to understand this, let me give this paper again, which we looked at in the past. We'll look at it again. Take a picture and send it to.
I did before you got here. I saw it on the table. I sent it to you.
Good. Oh, beautiful. Let's just go through it quickly. The Shem Oisius, go to the top together. So you can see the different Shem is Shem Ab, Ayin Bey 72, Sag 63, Mem 45, Ban 52. What's the Chiluk? Shem Ab is Milui Yudin. Milui means the way the letters are filled and spelled out. Every letter is actually a what? A whole word. So if the Milui is Yud, it's going to yield a numerical value of 72. Now what's Yud? We all know Wood is what? Yud is Chochmah. So you can see, first Yud. Yud is always spelled Yud Vav Dalet. There's no other way to spell it. So Hey, but Hey could be spelled Hey Yud, or Hey Hey, or Hey Aleph. Here it's Hey Yud. The Vav can be spelled Vav Vav, or Vav Aleph Vav. Here it's spelled Vav Yud Vav. And the Hey again, Hey Yud. So this gives the yield of what? 72. What does this mean? The Maimon is going to actually, I'm not going to go to the details now, because the next ice is going to explain all four Miluyim. But you can see just the technicality of this. It's what? The Milui is Yud, and if you add up the numerical value, the Gematria, it's 72. You can see that? It's also 10 letters. Yud. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Shem Sag 63, that's a mixture of the Milui is a Yud and Aleph. The Yud means the same. Looking at the Hey is a Yud, but the Vav is the differential. The Vav, instead of being Vav, Yud Vav, as it is in Shem Ab, that will explain why in the next ice, it is Vav, Aleph Vav, yielding the numerical value of what? Of? Can't hear you.
63.
63. Shem Ma, and that's Bina, by the way. That's Bina. The Maim will explain why. Because Bina is both Yud and Aleph. Huh? Can't hear you. The milui is both an aleph and a yud and an aleph. It's a yud when it comes to the hey yud. When it comes to the vav, it is an aleph. The Maimon will explain why and why that's bina. Shema, the milui is all alephs, and that's zah. Yud always remains the same. Hey aleph, vav, hey aleph, which gives you the numerical value of what?
45.
Of
45.
45. And the Maimon will explain that too, why it's all aleph. And Shemban, 52, the milui is hey. Again, the yud is the hey, but it's hey, hey. The vav is nothing. And the hey is hey, hey. Yielding 52, and that is malchus. And we're actually going to see, as I said, in this ice, the explanation of this. And it's very fascinating. Beating in that. Oh, I'm sorry, yes?
Sorry, I know I'm jumping in. Some clarity. But Av, Sav, Ban, Maz, Ban, is that just referring to the numerical value?
That's right.
Of the different types of Yud, Gid, Vav, Gid?
Yeah. You're asking, do the words themselves mean something? No.
Okay.
No, the gematria. Although we do find the word av, kal. I'm not going to go through this. We did this once in the previous mind. The last pasuk on the page, Hashem rides on a light, referring to the last Yud. Hashem will ride al av kal on a light cloud, Uba Mitzrayim, and come to Egypt in an exact retribution. So there, actually, av actually is a meaning, a cloud. But bechlal, that's a rembes. The word, the av, shem ab, sag, mao, ban, don't mean anything. They're simply the gematria. Okay, now we're gonna, now we learn inside. Yeah? Beating Dalashem is Elo. To understand these four names in Shem Ab, or Shem Avai, B'milui Yudin, as we just saw on the page, Shem Ab is spelling Yud Kevav How with the milui, the filling of Yud. The Yud made al Chochma. Yud, of course, it represents Chochma. Why? Anybody? Everybody? It's a Nekuda. Right. Zer Shekol Dalad is that so. All four letters where the milui is Yud means Shem Klolos Ha'eses Vidas Kanal, as we said before in this Maimer, that the Dalad Oisias, can you tell me, all embrace all 10 Svidas. Yud is Chachma, and He is Bina, and Vav is Zah, and He is Malchus. But when you spell it with Yud ben Milui Yud, Hainu, what do we mean here? We mean the 10 Svidas, but we mean K'vishakol Asvidas in B'Chachma. How all the 10 Svidas are incorporated in their origin of Chachma. Yeah? As he illustrates, the Ois Hey, if you spell Hey with a Yud, it's Hey Yud, who Indian Habina Shebechachma. This is a Bina in Chachma, as the Pasuk says, V'chakeim bebina. It's a Pasuk in, not a Pasuk. It's a statement in Sefer Yetzirah, V'chakeim bebina, which literally means, be wise with Bina. But what that means is, in Chachma, the level of Bina. V'ois Vav, spelled Vav, Yud Vav, Midas Shebechachma, that's Midas is the Arin Chachma. He elaborates, as explained in the Bir Azayah of the Mittel Rebbe, al Pasuk. The Pasuk says, this is Bilam speaking, I see him from top of the peaks, umigvois ashereno, and I behold him from the hills. Yeah? So he explains there. The peaks refer to the rocks, refer to the midas kvishem b'chachma, as they incorporate the level of chachma sheshamim betachlis habitul. That's the level of what? That's the level of the Ois Vav. That's the Rosh Surim. Rosh going as the midas, as the midas incorporated within the source. The Hey Achroina, and what's the last day is Hey Yud. That is Malchus of Chachma. Not differentiating here between that comes later in a minute.
So what's the difference between Tzurim and voice?
Right now, nothing. We'll see in a minute. I think he's going to come to it. Okay, we'll just leave it open for a second. We'll revisit it. Hine Shem Sag Bina. So Sag is Bina. Yudin. Look at Sag. It's Mili Yudin and Aleph, right? Now, how does Yud come to Bina? Yud is Chachma. Answer: if Yishagama Bina betachlis habitul. True Bina is also tachlis habitul. Ki Chachma Bina in Trein Rein the Lemis Parshin. Chachma Bina described in the Zohar as two friends that do not separate. Because for Bina to be true Bina, it's got to be connected to Chachma. Otherwise, you start building a whole building, it's going to collapse because it's just expanding without being faithful to the original Nakuda. It goes off. For Bina to be Bina, it's got to be based on the original Nakuda. True Bina is also Bittul. It's a different level of Bittul, but it's also Bittul. Yeah? So that's where the Aleph comes in. When do we say that Bina has this quality of Yud of Bittul? That's in the beginning. But then, but then Bina has to expand and it has to stir the heart. So then it's got to have mitzias. As a midas and bechinas mitzias. And midas already are subjective and felt, not bittul. I feel, I love. Zahef is being tzudim l'gvois. So here's the difference between tzudim and gvois, between peaks and hills. Tzudim im midas shebachachma. Tzudim goes on the midas and chachma shem betachlis habittul. I guess it's higher. They're higher peaks. Ugvois, hills, him midas shebebina. That's the midas that they are where in bina. Shebebina nasas cholat mitzis midas. That's where the midas emerge as independent in some way, and that's why bina is both yud and aleph. Zar shebeshem sag havov b'milui aleph. The vav, which is midas, is aleph. Look at Shem Sag on the page. The hey part of Shem Sag is a yud, because that's referring to what bina as it connects to chachma. But the vav, which is the midas, is with an aleph, because that's already bina as it emerges away from chachma and becomes the source of the midas, and therefore it's bam shocha.
Therefore it's not bittul.
Not to the same degree, but look at the hey yud is. The hey yud is, because that's the ma'aseh b'peil. If infused with the proper midas, is bechinas bittul. I'm just suggesting that. I don't think he explains it here. Let's finish the sentence. In Shem Sag, the vav is now with an aleph. We said earlier in this maamar that aleph is amshacha. Now the midas are emerging in a more articulated state. And that this is all the midas as they emerge from bina. But the etzem of bina is bittul. That's why the hey in bina is spelled with a yud.
Stop. Saying over here that Tzurim are the midas shebachachma, not the midas of bina. The way here he's explaining the whole concept of sag is bina.
You're saying the next Tzurim is in chachma and our big voice is in bina. No. Yeah, that's yeah. The Shem Sag.
So he's skating. He's
Just
interplaying between. Where's Tzurim? He's just explaining where we hear the whole concept of bina and the.
But in Bina too, he says they amida shebachachma. The idea is that they're betachlis abittel. So even in Bina, they're still betachlis abittel like they're in
They
chachma.
both have yud, both Shem Ab and Shem Sag.
Same word. So Tzurim they hamidas shebachachma.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Why not? In other words, what's the Hey Yud of Shem Sag? The Hey Yud of Shem Sag, is that Surim?
That's the question.
That's what he says here, clearly.
Yeah, but then he says all of a sudden he says over here, Surim are the Hey Yud of Shema.
Can be both on the different levels.
Okay, I understand that it could be different ways.
It's both on the different levels. Hey is definitely Hey is Bina. Ja, because ich bedachte mir, zu einem Bide שבחכמה, שבתכלס הביטל, wo ist denn שבine נאס, אז חלט מזיס המידס. It's a Shem Sag, Vav, a Mili Aleph. Okay, that's already the Mili Aleph. So what's just not so clear is the Hey Yud of Shem Sag. Is that, because he introduced Surim already, he said,
The term is about the midas. So the midas in Chachma are tzurim because
and the Midas in Bina
are gvos.
are Gvosh. So how is it in Shem Ab and Shem Zag?
In the Vav.
In both, to different degrees of bittul. That's all. Just different degrees of bittul. Okay, we'll stop here to continue, Mitzvah.